Hello? 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 Welcome to RC Pie. I honestly don't know where to sit. This box is huge. It's got to be the biggest RC box that I've had. I mean, I have seen bigger. It's certainly bigger than a crawler, and it's only a motorbike. It's got to be a big bike. This is the Promoto MX motocross by Losi, and it's a quarter scale motorbike with no training wheels, no stabilizers, no tricks. It's an actual working, driving or riding motorbike. It's kind of big news and a big thing, and I don't just mean the size of it, because it is really, really big. 1 in 4 scale, so much bigger than any of your normal crawlers or cars generally. I do want to say a big thanks to Tyrone at Knowles Models, who has let me borrow this to have a look. This is available to buy in his store right now. So if you do want to get your hands on one of these, give Tyrone a ring and then pop up to the northwest of England. Hopefully you're not somewhere else in the world, but if you are in the northwest of England, head down to Tyrone and he'll sort you out with one of these. We'd better have a quick look at the box. So on this side of the box, we've got a rundown of the technology within, and it's really quite interesting. So they're talking about this smart technology, which is a combination of the battery and the radio gear and the motor, and I guess also the gyro. It does all sound very, very cool and very clever. So the most obvious thing that it's going to tell you is the battery level. So that telemetry through the receiver to the transmitter is going to display on the transmitter how much power you've got left. So that's pretty cool, but it's also got other smart telemetry going on, telling you the speed of the bike, the RPM of the motor, and various other things, ESC temperature as well, and how much power it's using, which, you know, I don't know exactly why you'd want to know all those things, but you may do. Perhaps you're going to actually race these. If a race series gets going with these, then that might be important information to you. What's also quite interesting is that this smart technology also has 3 different drive modes highlighted here. There's dirt mode, street mode, and wheelie control. So we'll have a bit more of a look into that as we go. And it's also talking about changing the angle of lean for tighter turns as well. On this side of the box, we've got a little rundown about FXR Racing, who I don't know about, but they appear to be a manufacturer of motocross clothes and safety gear, and the rider on this bike is wearing this FXR gear. A nice feature, I think, is that these are actually cloth clothes on the driver. So we'll look at that obviously when we open it up. Not too much on the other side of the box, but the back has got a full rundown of all the different features on this bike. So very nice, clear, helpful box. Certainly more useful than the information on a lot of boxes. But I don't think we need to go through what's on the box there. I think we'd be better off getting it open and having a look at the bike. Now, I'm not into motorbikes at all, but this thing is so different to anything that I've had before. I'm quite excited to have a look. So let's get the box open. You know, a real challenge here is setting up a camera far enough away from such a huge box that you can have a proper look. Right, so inside we've got an instruction manual. There's A couple of cards in there as well. We'll have a look inside this, clearly some stickers. I'll have a look inside that in a minute. Get this cardboard off. That's weighty in itself. Wrapped up nicely in a bag. You know, sometimes you lift up a box and you feel the weight and you don't quite feel how heavy something is. But once you pick up the bike itself or the car itself, then you feel just how weighty things are. So in there we've got the bike. It's got a stand as well. It's got a stand for under, I don't know what, under the sump. I don't know my motorbike terminology, but a stand for that, and a rear stand as well. Kind of a track stand, I suppose. Transmitter is in here. There's a set of 4 AAs, so I guess that makes this 100% ready to run. And there's also tools. Wow! Hefty spanners and pins, or big nails actually. Okay. A bottle of chain lube. Some other parts here, don't know what those are, in a bag. We'll find out what those are. And I think that's it in the box. So we'll get all that out. We'll have a proper look. So here's everything that comes in the box, certainly with this version of this bike. Obviously you've got the bike itself, we will come on to that. The radio here is a Spectrum DX3. I'm not sure how many channel that is. I've not had one of these myself on any cars or anything. In fact, I've not had any Spectrum transmitters, but it's certainly multi-channel. It's got a plethora of buttons, and we'll try and go through some of those now. So we've got a steering, normal or reverse there. Battery indicators on this side. We said about the telemetry earlier. Throttle limit 50, 75 or 100%, which I think is always a nice feature on any ready-to-run vehicle. Flywheel switch, off and on. So looking at that, the way this bike works, you turn it on, you get it running, or connected. Then you turn the flywheel on. That gets the big heavy flywheel or gyro spinning inside the bike, and then once that is up to speed, you've got the stability, then you can pull the throttle and go. So a separate switch there for flywheel on and off. We've got an MS6X rate button here. Now I think that's to do with the rate at which you lean the bike. We've got a front brake travel knob here, steering sub trim, front brake trim, bind button, and then we've got an up and down A and B. Not sure what that is for. Let me just check that for you. A and B is drive modes. So to move between those 3 different drive modes, you'll use that channel. And I think that's your power button on the back. Yeah. Overall, the unit sort of feels a little bit cheap, but it's quite comfortable, it's quite well laid out, and it looks like it's got all the controls that you're going to need for this machine. So that doesn't seem bad. What else have we got? Well, obviously the AAs, Raymax, always a brand you've never heard of. Maybe these are very famous and popular in the States, I don't know. The manual and the paperwork. Well, we've got a Promoto sticker and a Losi sticker. Then a card which has got QR codes for upgrades and for support, so that could come in handy. We've got a quick start guide. Now interestingly, on the bike itself there is also a tag here with a QR code on for a quick start. So if you've not got hold of this for some reason, then that could be your route in, and then obviously remove that. But the quick start guide itself is just a quick... the QR code is for a video, so that's probably that QR code as well. There's one on here. A quick overview of how to put everything together, how to use it for the people that are a bit too impatient or don't want to read words, because this is nearly all pictures. But that will get you going with how to use your bike and what the various controls are for. So that's kind of cool. We've got a sheet of option parts, some quite nice looking option parts here. Different colour front mudguards, with different colour alloy hubs, front and rear from the looks of things. Different chain wheels, a different disc brake, what looks like carbon fibre gearbox plates, and we've got metal swing arm as well and other parts on there. So they're obviously doing a few things. Oh, and different tyres. And even a different rider. So that's cool that they're doing Supermoto tyres. So you've got like a slick and a semi-slick, and then these are kind of mini pins or mini blocks. Quite nice that those are being done, and they are Proline tyres, so you know the rubber's going to be good as well. The manual itself feels quite hefty, but I think this is in a few languages. Yes, it is. So we've got what looks like a fairly straightforward, fairly clear manual. Yeah, going through all the different things, which is good because this is a very, very new kind of piece of kit. So it's going to be a good idea to know what you're doing with this. So I'd recommend anybody driving one of these to work your way through that manual. And then we've also got sticker sheets. These would appear to be direct replacements for these rear panel stickers. I don't know whether there's a replacement for this, but those are working in combination with this sheet, which is just a big sheet of numbers. So I guess if you're going to race, you're going to put one of these stickers on here, on this fairing, and then put your own race number on there. So that's pretty cool. So let's get these out of the way. So also in the box, we've got a selection of different, I think they're different bushings for mounting your axles, some other little plastic bits and bobs. Not entirely sure what those are all for. I'm sure you find out when you need them. There's also a couple of tools here. The nails are for this motocross stand. Now this is actually a launch stand, so that you put the bike in there, so your hands off. I guess if you're having a race, something like that, you'd line them all up in the stands, get the flywheels going, and then when you drive, it's just going to launch out of these stands. So that's kind of cool. So the big nails are for nailing your stand into the ground. And then there's a couple of spanners in there. Those are for getting into the internals of the front shocks. And the chain lube, of course, is for lubing the chain. So the machine itself, I mean, it's pretty impressive straight away. I'll start off with the rider. Starts with the rider. He's a squidgy, rubbery kind of fella. which is cool, so presumably he's not going to get too damaged. A lovely feature is that he is wearing fabric clothes. He's got a fabric sort of MX motocrossing sort of kit on there, so I'm sure you'll be able to get different outfits for those. If Losi aren't doing them themselves, then I'm sure third-party people will be producing those, and you'll have a variety to go from. Or you could get the sewing machine out and produce your own. But he's pretty cool, and I think that's quite a nice feature. The only thing that's kind of a bit odd is that when this bike is steering, the handlebars don't go with it. So, you know, that's a slight issue for me, but you probably won't notice because you'll be so terrified of crashing it that you won't be looking at that whatsoever. But I mean, the look of it is fantastic. It's so bob on scale. They've just got it right. You know, they really have got it right. It looks amazing. As I said, I'm not a motorbike guy. I'm not really a fan of motorbikes at all. I left those fantasies behind when I was about 10. But this is the sort of thing that would get anybody enthusiastic about motorbikes, because it's just, well, it's cool, isn't it? I mean, there's no question it is a cool piece of kit. So you've got, I'm going to take it off this racing stand. So I mean, you know, it's a scale bike in many ways. It's proper chain drive, so that's pretty cool. Big sprocket on the back, and that going into the motor to whatever a kind of pinion in there. These tyres are hefty. They feel hard, but I guess you want that because otherwise these are going to get ruined in no time. I guess if you got some slicks or something, they'd probably be a lot softer. But these do feel pretty hard, but pretty rugged. So they're going to dig into the dirt, no problem. Suspension, well, you've got your normal sort of trailing arm on the back with a shock absorber in there, a coil over shock in there, and on the front you've got a kind of dual suspension setup. So we've got exactly what you would expect with these big double crown forks, but you've also got head damping. So if you collide with something straight on, you've got that bit of security around your head tube there, around the headset. There's a spring on there as well. So that is quite a nice feature. I like that. It's kind of hidden. I've no idea whether motorbikes ever have that. It's certainly not something I've seen in my mountain bike experience. But that looks like a really nice feature, so you've got that good combination. I mean, the amount of travel on these is quite spectacular. You've got probably 2 inches of travel there, which, you know, that's as much as I used to have on my mountain bikes. So pretty impressive, and a similar amount on the back. Other nice little features that spotted straight away. This rear mudguard is sprung, so if you do have a crash, or perhaps if you're wheeling and you go over too far, that's going to push up as you go, or when you crash on it, that's going to spring up. So that's quite a nice feature. The end of this exhaust is rubber as well, so that's not going to break too easily. Just some nice little thoughts there. We've obviously got these kind of stabilizers, but I think they're going to help a bit. If you're turning, it's going to roll on there a little bit. How much those are needed, I don't know. They're probably as much a safety thing as anything, but again, once it's running, I don't think you really notice those. overall weight wise, it's a heavy thing. I mean, I've not weighed it, but I would guess that that's about 2.5 to probably 3 kilos. And that's without a battery in. Now the battery itself goes into a compartment at the back here. So there's a body pin on the back, and pull that, and then this battery compartment lifts up. So that exhaust is part of that compartment door. That opens up and you'll probably be getting one of their own batteries. When I said this is 100% ready to run, evidently it's not, because you don't get the battery with it. I think there's different editions and you can get the battery in some, but I don't think that is a standard thing. So battery wise, if you're thinking of using your normal sort of hard pack 2 or 3S pack in there, that will not, oh yeah, actually, yes, that looks like it would actually fit. Wow! I didn't think that was going to fit, but that's a hard pack and that seems to fit. The soft pack, this soft pack 2S of mine, that is sliding in absolutely no problem. So, you know, my initial thoughts that you were going to need some sort of diddy little pack like this is just not the case. You can use a good size lipo in there and it's not going to be a problem. So the lead just comes out of the side, and then there is a, I think it's an IC5 connector there. So you need to either alter your batteries or get a battery with that right connector for this bike, and not just a Dean's or an XT60 or whatever. It's a bit heftier. We've got an on switch, a power switch there, and I guess that's probably a bind button next to it. But there's your power switch. Your servo is hidden inside, kind of in the fuel tank sort of area. It's got working disc brakes on the front, which is pretty awesome. The rear, of course, doesn't need them, so it's got a mock-up disc on the rear, but it doesn't need that because your rear braking is going to be done by your motor, so that's just not an issue. Well, I don't know what else to tell you about it other than it's cool. I am not going to run this. I've borrowed this from Tyrone and Knowles Models just to have a quick look at it so that you can see it as well. I know there are plenty of videos out there. I'm sure you've all seen one of these crashing into the side of a car, doing that big jump, landing inside of that car and putting a big dent in it. That tells you about the weight, because when I first saw that I thought, that's a bit strange, that must be a really flimsy car. But no, if you crash this into any car panel, and that probably includes a Cybertruck, I bet it would dent it, because it is quite a weight. But I think this thing is awesome. I really do. I would love to have a go of one. I'm going to have to see if anybody I know has got one, and then I can hopefully get a little bit of footage and possibly get a little ride. I don't know, which do you do? If you're not on it, are you still riding it or are you driving it? Ooh, terminology confusion. But if you do fancy one, they come in the UK, they come in at about £560. In the US, they come in at $599, which seems like a lot of money at first. When you compare it to a lot of crawlers, for instance, seems like a lot of money. I suppose it's only a similar price to, say, a fully loaded TRX4, or if you're talking bashers, it's probably quite cheap compared to a lot of big bashers, your sort of 6S and 8S bashers. But yeah, it kind of seemed like a lot of money for me for something with only 2 wheels. But the more I've thought about it, the more I don't think that's true. Because really, this is using new technology. This is using what's probably proprietary technology with the flywheel gyro setup and all the telemetry. You know, I guess Losi have worked with Spectrum on this to develop this system. So whether that electronic gear is going to be opened up to the market, whether other manufacturers are going to come in and make these as well, we will see. But that development on the back of one unique piece of kit means actually it's a bit of a bargain, really. So if you've got the spare money and you fancy a go, I'd say get one. It doesn't look like just a gimmick, it looks like a really, really, really nice piece of kit. Hopefully you've enjoyed watching this, hopefully you've learned something as I have. If you've got any questions, please post them in the comments, or just let me know what you think of the video. Or if you've got one of these, let me know what it's like. If you've not subscribed to the channel, please do so. Watch out for more content coming up. We've got some interesting stuff coming up in the next few weeks. Please like the video, even that helps me out. Oh, if you do want to find a link to where to get one of these, have a look in the description and I'll leave something there for you. But for now, thanks for watching. Keep your eyes peeled for RC Pi, and I'm not going to say happy driving, I'll say happy riding. See you soon.